Her voice a low, no more delays. Tonight we claim what is ours. The obsidian doors to Celine's private chambers slid apart with a resonant hum. The starfield beyond the vast viewport casting swirling hues of violet and crimson across the room, like the blush of a cosmic dawn. Queen Selene stood at the center, her black silver armor discarded in a heap on the stone dais, leaving her in a translucent silk tunic that clung to the powerful, sculpted lines of her warrior's physique. Her black hair, veined with that ethereal violet sheen, cascaded like a midnight waterfall over her shoulders, framing icy blue eyes that burned with a hunger she no longer hid. Adrian approached, his scholar's robes shed for simple linens that revealed the lean, corded muscles honed by discipline rather than battle. The air between them crackled, thick with the metallic ozone of Drakorian storms and the warm, earthy scent of his human skin, a tantalizing contrast that had built over weeks of tension. "Adrian," she murmured, her voice a low, velvety command that sent shivers down his spine. "No more delays. Tonight, we claim what is ours." She stepped forward, her fingers, strong yet graceful, tracing the line of his jaw, then down his chest, igniting sparks where they touched. He met her gaze, gray eyes steady but alight with desire, and pulled her close, his hands finding the curve of her waist. Their lips met in a kiss that was both tender and fierce, charming in its mutual surrender, passionate as tongues danced in a rhythm born of equals. Celine's breath hitched, her body pressing against his, the heat of her skin radiating through the thin fabric, her curves molding perfectly to his frame. He lifted her effortlessly onto the dais, her legs wrapping around him with a warrior's grip, drawing him in. "You are magnificent," he whispered against her neck, his lips brushing the pulse there, tasting the salt and steel of her essence. She arched into him, her hands tangling in his brown hair, pulling him closer as she shed the tunic in one fluid motion. Her body was a masterpiece of strength and grace, firm breasts rising with each breath, toned abdomen leading to hips that promised both power and yielding. Adrian's touch was reverent, exploring with a historian's fascination, fingers trailing over her collarbone, down to cup her breast, thumbs circling the peak until she gasped, a sound that was music to him. "Show me your fire, my queen," he urged, his voice husky, charming her with words as much as caresses. Celine flipped them with effortless strength, straddling him, her violet-sheened hair falling like a curtain around their faces. She ground against him slowly, teasingly, the friction building a sexy heat that made him groan. "And you, my consort, show me your depth," she replied, her icy eyes melting into pools of desire. She guided his hands to her thighs, powerful from years of combat, and he squeezed, eliciting a moan from her lips. Their movements synchronized, passionate and unhurried, a dance of discovery. He entered her gently at first, then deeper, their bodies joining in a rhythm that echoed the binary stars outside, slow orbits building to fervent collisions. Her nails raked his back lightly, leaving trails of fire, while his hips thrust with controlled power, each motion drawing whimpers of pleasure from her. The chamber filled with their symphony, her commanding whispers turning to breathless cries, his scholarly calm dissolving into raw passion. Climax came as a shared storm, waves crashing over them, leaving them entwined, slick with sweat, hearts pounding in unison. In that moment, under the nebula's glow, they were not queen and consort, but lovers forged in mutual fire. But it hadn't always been this way. Their union was a hard-won victory, not a given. It began with Adrian's arrival on Drakor Prime, a planet 3.2 AU from its binary star system, its obsidian-heavy crust glinting under violet skies. The air tasted of scorched obsidian and unyielding resolve, a dense metallic atmosphere that clawed at his lungs, a relentless reminder that this world was forged in fire and conquest, not the temperate cradle of human colonies. He stepped from the shuttle ramp, his scholar's robes whispering against the polished blackstone tarmac, feeling the weight of the planet's gravity, 1.2 times Earth's, pull at his well-built frame. Brown hair tousled by the whipping winds, his gray eyes scanned the horizon where the Blackstone Palace rose like a jagged crown, its 500-meter spires piercing the violet skies like spears hurled by ancient gods. This was no mere embassy, it fortress of shadows housing 10,000 Drakorian warriors, whose black-silver armor gleamed like oil on water under the dual suns. Adrian had been chosen, plucked from the Human Alliance's archives like a rare artifact for this political union. A historian and archaeologist specialized in the ruins of forgotten empires, he knew the stakes: seal the alliance or watch interstellar peace fracture. Yet as he approached the palace gates, flanked by Drakorian escorts whose boots thudded in rhythmic unison, he felt less like a consort and more like a diplomatic pawn on a board where every move could topple thrones. The gates parted with a low, resonant hum, revealing the grand forum beyond, a vast hall where crystal chandeliers cast a cold, ethereal glow, their facets refracting light into shards that danced like frozen lightning. At the hall's apex, upon a throne hewn from a single obsidian monolith, sat Queen Selene. Her black hair shot through with a violet sheen that caught the light like a nebula's edge, framed a face of regal severity. Icy blue eyes, sharp as glacial fissures, swept over him, assessing not just his form, but the very essence of his humanity. She was a vision of Drakorian might, tall with a warrior's physique honed by generations of conquest, her presence radiating a heat that belied the cool air. Her black-silver armor clung to her like a second skin, etched with runes that pulsed faintly with latent energy. Beauty as a blade, wielded without mercy. "You are the human, Adrian?" Her voice filled the space, not shouted but commanding, each syllable a weighted anchor in the silence. The court, 2,000 nobles in tiered alcoves, their faces impassive masks of contempt, leaned forward as one. "Majesty," Adrian replied, dipping his head in measured respect, but refusing to bow. His briefing had been explicit. Drakorians revered strength, weakness invited annihilation. His voice was calm, even, a scholar's timbre forged in lecture halls, not battlefields. A warlord to her right stirred, Marcus, a brute with a scarred face like a meteor-cratered moon, his fierce gaze burning holes through Adrian. Clad in heavy armor marked with 12 ancient clan sigils, symbols of a bloodline that had crushed worlds, he emanated raw power. His pulsac, or slung at his side, hummed with 50 megajoules of kinetic energy, ready to cleave through shields or flesh. "This is humanity's offering?" Marcus sneered, his voice a gravelly thunder. "A scholar in robes reeking of dust and forgotten scrolls? We demand a paragon, not a parchment pusher." Selene's gaze remained fixed on Adrian, unyielding. "The treaty promises union, a bridge between our Dominion's 47 star systems and your alliance's fragile colonies. The blood covenant must bind us, political, spiritual, unbreakable." Adrian felt the pressure coiling, a physical force from the silent warriors, their grips tightening on their weapons. The covenant, a ritual of blood and vow, consummated publicly to solidify her reign. Without it, whispers of instability would spread like fissures in ice. He clasped his hands behind his back, posture straight despite the ache in his muscles from the journey. "History teaches that true strength endures beyond the blade, Your Majesty. I am here to offer knowledge that commands the stars, not just conquers them." Marcus's laughter echoed, guttural and mocking. "He commands words. I command legions, fleets of 120 warships, each with 50 terawatt cannons. The covenant requires action, not lectures. Complete it within 30 days, or watch your queen's throne crumble." Murmurs rippled through the nobles, their loyalty fracturing like the planet's tectonic plates. Selene's knuckles whitened on her throne's arm, but her expression remained a mask of authority. Adrian sensed the trap. Submit too eagerly, and he'd be seen as weak. Resist and fuel Marcus's ambitions. The warlord's bloodline, ancient and power-hungry, had long eyed the crown. As the assembly dispersed, Adrian was led to his chambers, a sterile suite of blackstone walls, the air laced with a sharp Drakorian incense that stung his eyes. He unpacked his data slates, their screens flickering to life with Human Alliance archives. Quantum uplinks hummed with a 0.02-second delay, pulling records of Drakorian history. He traced timelines. The Dominion's civil war ended mere months ago, leaving Selene's rule precarious over 8 billion subjects. The covenant wasn't mere tradition, it was the linchpin. Midnight brought a shadow to his door. Celine entered alone, her armor replaced by a long robe that whispered against the floor, revealing the powerful curves of her form. She moved with a predator's grace, circling him like a storm front. Her scent, cold-forged steel, and violet ozone filled the room. "You defy the court, human," she murmured, her voice low, charged. "Marcus wields tradition like his axe. Refuse the covenant, and he will claim my crown in your head." Adrian met her icy gaze, his heart a steady drum. "I am no pawn, Celine. Humanity's alliances span 300 years, built on mutual respect, not subjugation. Show me the strength in your traditions, and I will prove mine." Her eyes narrowed, a flicker of intrigue piercing the frost. She reached out, fingers tracing his jaw, light yet electric. "You are unexpected, Adrian, but gardens wither in Drakorian frost. Do not test me too long." She departed, leaving the air humming with tension. Adrian exhaled, knowing this was no scholarly debate. The game had begun. Unravel the Covenant's secrets or become its victim. Outside, the binary stars dipped low, casting dual shadows that danced like omens on the walls. The Sanctum Garden lay buried beneath the Blackstone Palace, a terrace where petrified vines twisted like ghosts of Drakor Prime's ancient queens. Adrian descended its cracked obsidian steps, the air heavy with ash and forgotten earth. Violet twilight filtering through a shattered skylight, casting jagged shadows across barren soil. His gray eyes saw potential, a canvas for rebellion. In scholar's robes dusted with grit, he knelt, probing for relics of a dominion older than Celine's reign. History was his battlefield, and he would wield it against Marcus's bluster. In the Grand Forum, tension coiled tighter. Celine summoned Adrian, her black-silver armor gleaming under crystal chandeliers, plasma glaive humming. Warriors and nobles watched, pikes humming. "Prove your worth, human," she commanded, her voice slicing like a blade. She spun her glaive, lunging with ferocious grace, its arc searing air with ozone's bite. Adrian gripped a carbon fiber staff, countering with precision, not matching her force, but sidestepping, using Terran judo to send her sprawling onto cultivated moss. The crowd gasped, a shock rippling through thousands. Celine rose, icy blue eyes flickering with respect. "You yield to overcome," she murmured, breath warm against cool air. Marcus stormed in, armor clanking, pulse axe sparking. "Gardener's hands!" he roared before warriors, accusing Adrian of shaming Celine, fueling calls for the blood covenant across 47 star systems. Murmurs grew venomous, nobles' loyalty fracturing like the planet's crust. Adrian retreated to the garden, his sanctuary. He adjusted atmospheric regulators, coaxing alien seeds to sprout. Green defiance against neglect. His data slate, linked to Human Alliance archives, uncovered an inscription beneath a crumbled statue. "The mutual oath binds two as one, not one above." The covenant, he realized, was meant to unite equals, not subjugate. Celine appeared on a balcony, violet-sheened hair catching the dusk like starfire, eyes a storm of duty and curiosity. "You spend days in dirt while my throne trembles," she said, descending, boots thudding on obsidian. "Marcus sows discord. Why defy the covenant?" Adrian wiped soil from his hands, meeting her gaze. "I'm rediscovering your history, Celine. This garden holds the power to build, not break." She tested him again, glaive spinning, a whirlwind of might. Adrian parried, redirecting her momentum, letting her stumble, armor clanking against stone. Her chest heaved, flushed, eyes holding intrigue, not disdain. "You are no warrior," she murmured, voice husky. Marcus's shadow fell over the garden's entrance, his faction trailing like a storm cloud. "The human plants weeds while our queen weakens," he bellowed, accusations stinging, aimed at Celine's authority over billions. Adrian ignored the taunt, focusing on a second inscription, glyphs detailing the Covenant's original rights, free of chains. He uploaded data to his slate, cross-referencing the Proto-Drakorian script. In the forum, Celine called for a debate, her voice commanding thousands. Marcus accused Adrian of cowardice, but Adrian countered, citing human alliances enduring centuries through respect. The Dominion's strength lies in its past, he said, voice amplified, sowing doubt among nobles. Marcus's scarred face darkened, sensing the tide turning. That night, Adrian worked alone in the garden, hands calloused from digging. He planted a hybrid seed, a Terran rose entwined with Drakorian bloodvine, roots threading through enriched soil. The air vibrated faintly, flora humming, a subtle defiance of Marcus's force. Selene appeared, silk robe whispering, scent of steel and ozone sharp. "You challenge me with dirt and words," she said, circling him. "Marcus demands blood. Your strategy, historian?" Adrian held up the slate, glowing with the inscription's translation. "This is your covenant, Selene, a vow of equals, not chains. Marcus's ancestors twisted it to cage you." Her eyes widened, a crack in her regal mask, truth piercing her. She stepped closer, fingers brushing his arm, touch electric. "If you speak truth, you risk everything," she whispered. "As do I." The sun sank, casting dual shadows that merged into one, a fragile omen of their alliance against the looming storm. The sanctum garden's violet twilight deepened, its air thick with the hum of sprouted flora, a subtle pulse of life against Drakor Prime's sterile obsidian. Adrian knelt among roots, hands caked with earth, gray eyes scanning an inscription unearthed beneath a petrified bloodvine. "The mutual oath binds two wills, not one in chains." The words carved 2,500 years ago in Proto-Drakorian script confirm the blood covenant's corruption, twisted from a vow of equals into a tool of control by Marcus's bloodline. His data slate, linked to human alliance archives via a quantum uplink, glowed with records, piecing together a buried history. The discovery was a blade, sharp and dangerous, its edge poised to cut empires. Above, the court's tension coiled tighter. Marcus rallied warriors in a subform, his armor etched with clan sigils, clanking, his pulse axe crackling. "The human is a parasite," he roared, voice grating across the hall, branding Selene weak before nobles controlling fleet divisions. Adrian felt their contempt, Avicii pressing his chest as he worked in the garden's shadows. Selene summoned him to the Grand Forum, her neutronium armor gleaming under chandeliers, plasma glaive hissing. Warriors watched, pikes humming. "Prove your strength, Adrian," she commanded, icy blue eyes piercing, voice a resonant blade. She lunged, her glaive a whirlwind, searing air with ozone's bite. Adrian countered with his carbon fiber staff, deflecting with precision, yielding like water. She stumbled onto cultivated moss, chest heaving, violet-sheened hair falling like a curtain. "You fight like water," she murmured, a flicker of respect cracking her gaze. Adrian retreated to the palace archives, a digital fortress guarded by AI scribes. He exploited a logic paradox, querying, "Show records of consorts with non-biological wasting sickness." The system faltered, lowering firewalls briefly. He plunged into the data, fingers flying over the hollow interface. The files revealed the Covenant's psionic secret, a neural dampener crushing consorts' cognition, leaving husks like Castian, erased 150 years ago, a wasting sickness masking mind death. The truth chilled Adrian's bones. The ritual was a cage to lobotomize off-worlders. That night, Selene confronted him in his chambers, silk robe whispering against her warrior's curves, scent of steel and ozone sharp. "You avoid the covenant while Marcus poisons my court," she hissed, sweeping a slate to the floor. Adrian knelt, gathering it, calm. "I've found your history, Selene," he said, holding her gaze. "The covenant was a mutual oath, not chains. Marcus's ancestors twisted it to control you." He projected logs of consorts, minds erased. Her eyes widened, fury warring with doubt. Marcus's propaganda flooded the network, labeling Selene unfit to rule billions. His warriors patrolled, armor whirring, a threat to her throne over 47 star systems. Adrian cultivated a Drakorian orchid in the garden, its petals humming, a metaphor for reviving truth. He planted a hybrid rose with bloodvine, roots blending human and Drakorian essence, symbolizing unity. Celine watched from a balcony, silhouette framed by fading suns, torn between tradition and his revelations. In the forum, Marcus demanded a trial, accusing Celine of weakness. Adrian countered in debate, citing human alliances enduring centuries through respect. Your covenant was meant to unite, not enslave, he declared, projecting glyph translations. Nobles nodded, Marcus's dogma shaken, but his warriors tightened their grips, ready to act. Celine tested Adrian again in the garden, her glaive's strikes a blur. He parried, redirecting her force, landing her on moss. Her chest heaved, flushed, eyes intense, not angry, but intrigued. You fight without breaking, she said, voice husky. Adrian showed her logs detailing Castian's erasure. This is your tradition's lie, he said. It cages your power. Her hand trembled, dogma clashing with truth. Marcus's deadline loomed, 20 days left. His whispers grew venomous, eroding Celine's authority. Adrian planted another hybrid, its roots threading soil, a quiet rebellion. Celine appeared, robe clinging, touch electric. If you're right, she whispered, we challenge an empire's core. Are you ready, Adrian? He met her gaze, heart steady. I'm ready for a future where strength is shared. The sun sank, shadows merging into one, a fragile omen of their alliance against the gathering storm. The grand form of the Blackstone Palace loomed as a colossus of obsidian and ambition, its amphitheater carved into Drakor Prime's volcanic heart. Tears alive with warriors in black-silver armor, their pulse pikes humming like chain lightning. The violet dawn bled through the open ceiling, casting jagged light across the arena where Adrian stood, his scholar's robes a quiet defiance against the martial splendor. Gray eyes steady, he faced Warlord Marcus, who strode forward, his Blackstone scepter slamming into the floor with a thunderous crack, silencing the crowd. His scarred face twisted in a sneer, armor etched with clan sigils clanking as he moved. The human's cowardice shames our queen, he boomed, voice a seismic wave across 47 star systems. The right of unworthiness demands the blood covenant, or her throne falls. Celine rose from her obsidian throne, her neutronium armor glinting, violet-sheened hair catching the crystal chandelier's cold glow. Her icy blue eyes burned with fury, her plasma glaive drawn, its energy field hissing. You overstep, Marcus, she retorted, her voice a resonant blade, cutting through the murmurs like a laser. The nobles shifted, loyalty fracturing like glass, Marcus's rhetoric swaying many, threatening her reign over billions. Adrian felt the pressure coil, a vice around his chest, but his resolve held like tempered steel. Marcus raised his scepter, a symbol of ancestral power. This scholar digs in dirt while our dominion weakens, he roared, his words flooding the network, branding Celine a failure. His elite guards fanned out, pikes sparking, ready to seize the throne in a coup cloaked as honor. Adrian clutched his hollow slate, its display ready to project truth. In the sanctum garden, he'd uncovered an inscription beneath a blood vine. The mutual oath forges two as one, not one to kneel. His data slate, linked to Human Alliance archives, confirmed the Covenant's original intent, a vow of equals, corrupted 200 years ago by Marcus's bloodline to subjugate consorts. Adrian stepped forward, voice calm but piercing. Your tradition is a lie, Marcus, he declared, activating the slate. A holographic display flared, projecting proto-Drakorian glyphs. This was a mutual oath, not a cage. Your ancestors twisted it to chain consorts' minds, to chain your queens. The nobles gasped, their fleet divisions hanging in the balance, as he cited human alliances enduring centuries through respect. The Dominion can build, not just break. Some nobles nodded, their faith in Marcus shaken. Celine descended to Adrian's side, sword drawn, its edge singing. You wield tradition as a weapon, Marcus, she said, her voice resolute. I wield truth. Her presence was electric, armor a second skin radiating defiance. She glanced at Adrian, trust flickering in her icy eyes, their fragile alliance a spark that could ignite empires. In the garden, Adrian had planted a rose entwined with bloodvine, a symbol of synthesis. He'd adjusted the garden's regulators, coaxing hybrid flora to bloom, their petals humming. Now his arguments cut like a laser. The covenant was meant to unite, not enslave, he said, displaying logs of consorts whose minds were dampened by a psionic matrix. The crowd stirred, nobles shifting, loyalty teetering like a ship in a storm. Marcus's guards tightened their grips, pikes ready. He lunged, his axe a blur, but Selene parried, her blade a comet's arc, sparks showering. "Enough!" she commanded, voice a decree. "Adrian's evidence stands. You betray our history." Her guards hesitated, then rallied, as nobles leaned toward her, swayed by truth. Marcus's face darkened, sensing defeat. That night, Selene confronted Adrian in his chambers, her silk robe clinging to her curves, the scent of steel and ozone sharp. "You've turned my court against itself," she said, sweeping a slate to the floor. Marcus's lies are exposed, but his faction remains. Adrian knelt, gathering the slate, calm. "I fight for a future where you rule as an equal," he said, holding her gaze. "The covenant's truth can free you." Her anger faltered, a flicker of vulnerability, her hand brushing his arm. Electric. Marcus's deadline loomed, 15 days left. His propaganda surged, labeling Adrian a human weed. In the garden, Adrian cultivated another hybrid, its roots threading through the soil, a testament to defiance. Selene watched from a balcony, silhouette framed by fading suns. "You risk everything," she murmured, descending. "If we fail, Marcus's axe claims us both." Adrian showed her a log of a Xyloian consort, mind wiped long ago. "This is your empire's secret," he said. "We can end it." Her eyes softened, a storm of duty and desire. The air crackled, their shadows merging under violet dusk, a fragile promise against Marcus's looming coup. The obsidian doors to Selene's chambers parted with a resonant hum, high above Drakor Prime's sprawling capital, where the binary suns bled violet fire like cosmic wounds. The air crackled with charged ozone and heated steel, clawing at Adrian's throat as he entered, his heart pounding a war drum. Selene stood silhouetted against the vast viewport, her neutronium armor discarded, clad in a translucent tunic that clung to her warrior's curves, full breasts, taut abdomen, and hips forged in battle's crucible. Her violet-sheened hair cascaded like a storm cloud, icy blue eyes piercing him with a storm's fury, beauty weaponized, unyielding. "Adrian," her voice sliced the silence, a command that vibrated the obsidian walls like a death knell. "The dawn nears and Marcus's axe hovers. Complete the blood covenant now." She advanced, a predator's grace, her scent enveloping him, cold forged metal laced with violet lightning. Her fingers gripped his robes, pulling him close, her body radiating heat that belied the frost in her gaze. The space between them sparked, a storm brewing in the chamber's core. Adrian met her eyes, his gray depths a quiet fortress. "Selene, stop," he said, his voice a steady anchor, firm yet reverent. "This covenant is no union. It's a psionic blade, honed to sever minds." He recounted Castian's fate, a consort mind-wiped 150 years ago, brilliance extinguished like a snuff star. The ritual's psionic matrix was engineered to crush consort's wills, leaving obedient husks, a truth buried by Marcus's bloodline to control queens. Outside, Marcus's faction marched through the palace corridors, their armor whirring like mechanical hornets, amplifying their boots' thunder, a seismic threat to Selene's throne over 47 star systems. Their propaganda flooded the network, branding her a barren queen unfit to rule billions. The court trembled, nobles' loyalties fracturing like glass, Marcus's scarred visage a harbinger of civil storm. In the sanctum garden, Adrian had sparred with Selene under violet twilight. Her plasma glaives strikes a blinding whirlwind, searing the air with ozone's bite. He countered with his carbon fiber staff, deflecting with precise redirection, yielding like water to a road stone. She lunged, ferocious grace, muscles coiling, sweat glistening like stars. He pivoted, sending her tumbling onto cultivated moss, her chest heaving, flushed, a flicker of respect cracking her icy eyes. Rising, she stood close, breath mingling, heat a magnetic pull. "You fight without shattering," she murmured, her voice husky, fingers brushing his arm in a sparking touch. Adrian held her gaze and activated his holoslate, projecting logs of consorts, minds erased under the Covenant's yoke. "This is your tradition's venom," he said, words a scalpel-slicing dogma, exposing Marcus's ancestors' betrayal of cage power. Celine's resolve wavered, her lineage's dogma clashing with Adrian's truth, cutting like a laser through steel. Her hands clenched, knuckles whitening, conflict raging in her eyes. Duty's chains versus truth's fire. The chamber's air grew heavy, a storm front pressing in, suns dipping to cast dual shadows dancing like dueling fates. Marcus's forces loomed, a relentless drumbeat, warriors ready to storm the throne. In the garden, Adrian had cultivated a hybrid plant, blending human and Drakorian roots, leaves humming like a whispered rebellion. Now he offered Selene the slate's glow, an intimacy of intellect, heads bent over forbidden logs, breaths sinking in charged silence. "I'll be your ally, your equal," he said softly, his hand warm over hers. "Not your possession." Her fury ebbed, a dawning horror cracking her queen's mask. Marcus's deadline, 10 days left, hung like an executioner's blade, his faction's whispers a venomous gale. Selene paced, her tunic whispering against her curves, the viewport's nebula painting her in bruises of purple and red. "If we defy this," she whispered, voice fracturing, "the Dominion fractures." Adrian stood firm. "Or it rebuilds stronger, on truth." She halted, eyes like thawing glaciers. "Delay the ritual," she conceded, voice a tentative thunder, tasking him to forge evidence for the form. A fragile pact sealed in the electric hush. Trust bloomed, a seed in storm-tossed soil, as Marcus's forces gathered, armor glinting like chaos's harbingers. The air crackled with impending cataclysm, shadows lengthening, priming the clash to come. The grand form of the Blackstone Palace roared with the weight of thousands, its obsidian tiers trembling under a storm of anticipation. Violet dawn bled through the vaulted ceiling, casting jagged light across warriors in black-silver armor, their pulse pikes humming like chained lightning. Adrian stood at the arena's heart, his scholar's robes a defiant whisper against the martial cacophony, gray eyes blazing with a historian's fire, clutching a hollow slate that held the Dominion's buried truth. Warlord Marcus loomed opposite, his blackstone scepter slamming into the floor with a thunderous crack, splintering the silence. His scarred face contorted, a mask of rage, his armor, etched with clan sigils, clanking as he moved. "The dawn is here," he bellowed, voice a seismic wave across 47 star systems. Selene's barren throne and her cowardly human prove her unworthiness. "Honey," Selene swept into the arena, her neutronium armor glinting, violet-sheened hair a cascade of starfire under crystal chandeliers. Her icy blue eyes burned with a queen's wrath, her plasma glaive drawn, its energy field slicing air with a hiss. "You wield tradition as a noose, Marcus," she declared, her voice a resonant blade, cutting through the crowd's murmurs like a laser. The nobles teetered, their loyalty fracturing, a storm threatening her reign over billions. Adrian felt the air constrict, a vice of pressure as the Dominion's fate hung on a razor's edge. Marcus raised his scepter, a symbol of ancestral dominion. "This dirt digger defiles our covenant," he roared, his words flooding the network, branding Selene a failure. His elite guards fanned out, pikes sparking, ready to seize the throne in a coup cloaked as honor. Adrian stepped forward, heart hammering like a fusion reactor, and activated his slate. A holographic display erupted, projecting proto-Drakorian glyphs etched 2,500 years ago. "The mutual oath binds equals, not slaves." The crowd froze, breath held, as he revealed the Covenant's truth, a ritual twisted by Marcus's bloodline into a mind-suppressing psionic cage, designed to lobotomize consorts like Castillon, erased to 150 years prior. "Treason!" Marcus screamed, his pulse axe swinging toward Adrian's chest. Selene intercepted, her glaive clashing in a shower of violet sparks, the impact reverberating like a hull breach. "Enough!" she thundered, her voice a decree, shaking the tears. "Adrian speaks truth!" She stood beside him, a titan of resolve, her armor radiating defiance. The nobles leaned forward, their fleet divisions hanging in the balance as Adrian's voice rose, clear and relentless. "Your covenant is a lie," he declared, projecting logs of consorts, their minds shattered by psionic chains. "Humanity's alliances endured centuries through respect, not subjugation. Your dominion can forge a future where strength unites, not enslaves." His words sliced through dogma, each syllable a calculated strike. The crowd stirred, nobles shifting, their murmurs turning to gas as glyphs glowed above. Marcus's face purpled, his axe trembling, his guards faltering under doubt's weight. Celine's gaze locked with Adrian's, a silent pact forged in truth's crucible. "You champion a fearful past, Marcus," she said, her sword singing as she raised it. "I choose a future of equals." She gestured to Adrian. "My consort proves his worth, not with blood, but with courage to unearth our history." The arena quaked, warriors' pikes lowering as nobles nodded, their loyalty surging to Celine like a tide. Marcus lunged again, his axe a blur, but Celine parried, her blade a comet's arc, sending him staggering. Her guards moved as one, encircling Marcus's faltering champions. Adrian pressed forward, his slate projecting a final log, a Zeloyan consort, mind-wiped long ago, proof of Marcus's lineage's betrayal. "This is your legacy, Marcus, a chain on your queens," he shouted, voice cutting through chaos. The crowd roared, a wave of approval, as Marcus's guards hesitated, pikes dimming. Celine stepped to the arena's center, her armor gleaming like a supernova. "I proclaim the covenant of equals," she declared, voice a clarion call. "Marcus's clan is stripped of its titles, its lies buried." Marcus roared, his axe swinging wildly, but Celine's glaive met it, shattering its core in an explosion of sparks. He fell to his knees, disgraced, as her guards seized him, his shouts fading. The crowd erupted, warriors raising pikes in salute, their hum a chorus of renewal. Adrian stood firm, his slate a beacon, his quiet strength reshaping an empire. Celine turned to him, her icy eyes softening, seeing her consort as an equal. The air crackled with possibility, the binary suns rising, casting a single shadow, two figures united against a fracturing past. In the sanctum garden, Adrian's hybrid rose and bloodvine stood tall, a testament to their victory. The court adopted the new covenant, blending Drakorian might with human tactics. Marcus's defeat was a seismic shift. His propaganda was silenced, his supporters scattered. Celine and Adrian stood together, hands brushing, a touch electric with promise. The forum's roar faded, leaving a silence heavy with hope. The Dominion poised for a future forged in shared fire. The inner sanctum of the Blackstone Palace pulsed with a silence that screamed, the air thick with Drakorian ozone, and the faint hum of distant garden flora, a fragile harmony teetering on the edge of oblivion. Under a 3-meter obsidian arch, etched with proto-Drakorian glyphs glowing like embers, Celine and Adrian stood, the weight of 47 star systems crushing down like a storm's wrath. Her neutronium armor lay discarded, her form clad in translucent silks that whispered against her warrior's curves, violet-sheened hair cascading like a veil of night. His scholar's robes were gone, replaced by simple linens bearing his corded frame, gray eyes locked on hers, icy blue depths stormy with unspoken fears. The ritual chamber's viewport framed the binary sun's violent flare, casting blood-red shadows that danced like omens of doom, the cosmos holding its breath. "Celine," Adrian whispered, his voice a lifeline in the tempest. "This covenant of equals is our salvation or our end." Her hand trembled as she clasped his, the touch electric, a spark that could ignite empires or consume them. The psionic dampeners, once the ritual's hidden venom, were offline, silenced by Adrian's hacks. But whispers from the shadows hinted at sabotage. Marcus's loyalists lurking like ghosts. 500 loyal nobles encircled them, their black-silver armor a wall of steel, pulse pikes humming, but doubt flickered in their eyes. Was this reform a dawn or a cataclysm? The vows began, Celine's voice a resonant blade. I bind my might to your mind, equal in fire, equal in storm. Adrian echoed, his words a steady drum. I offer my wisdom to your will, forged as one, unbroken. But a rumble shook the chamber. Marcus's exiled supporters had launched a signal hack, their bursts infiltrating the palace's network like venomous serpents. Alarms blared, a piercing wail shattering the sanctity, nobles' pikes snapping up as shadows stirred in the tiers. Betrayal! A guard roared, his armor whirring, as phantom codes threatened to reactivate the dampeners, a psionic noose tightening around Adrian's mind. Celine's eyes widened, a queen's fury igniting like a supernova, her grip on Adrian anchoring him against the void. Hold the line, she commanded, her voice a thunderclap, as her fleet, 120 warships strong, pledged loyalty via quantum uplinks, their captains' holograms flickering like spectral reinforcements. But the hack surged, the arch's glyphs pulsing erratically. A neural suppression wave building, clawing at Adrian's thoughts like invisible talons. He staggered, visions of Castian's erasure flashing, brilliance snuffed 150 years ago, his gray eyes clouding with dread. Celine, it's activating, he gasped, his voice fracturing, the air crackling with psionic static. The nobles wavered, warriors beyond the chamber adopting the covenant of equals, their protocols blending Drakorian might with human tactics. But here chaos reigned. A loyalist infiltrator lunged from the shadows, his pulse axe swinging toward Adrian, scarred face twisted in Marcus's fanatic echo. Celine intercepted, her plasma glaive a comet's fury, clashing in a shower of sparks, sending him crumpling. You dare, she thundered, her blade a whirlwind, disarming another traitor. The psionic wave crested, Adrian's knees buckling, his mind a battlefield where memories frayed like threads in a storm. In the sanctum garden, Adrian had planted a hybrid tree, its canopy blending earth roses with Drakorian bloodvine, a symbol of their union now threatened. Unrestricted archive access had revealed more redacted consort records, solidifying reform, but Marcus's ghosts clawed back. Fight it, Celine urged, pulling Adrian close, her body a shield of warmth. Their foreheads touched, her icy eyes pouring resolve into his gray depths. He drew on human ingenuity, rerouting the arch's matrix via a quantum patch, his fingers flying over a hidden slate as the wave peaked. The chamber quaked, nobles' pikes forming a defensive ring, warriors clashing with infiltrators in a frenzy of plasma arcs and servo clashes, blinding strikes illuminating the obsidian like lightning. Celine fought beside Adrian, her glaive a blur, parrying axes, her physique a symphony of lethal grace, muscles coiling, sweat glistening like stars. An infiltrator breached the line, his pike thrusting at Adrian's chest. Celine spun, severing the weapon, her roar a defiance. You will not take him! Adrian's patch held, the psionic wave collapsing in a feedback screech, the arch stabilizing with a resonant hum. The infiltrators fell, subdued by loyal guards, their assault crumbling under the fleet's orbital lockdown. The Dominion's 47 systems broadcast the new covenant, uniting citizens under shared strength, holograms flaring like victorious stars. Celine and Adrian sparred in the ritual's afterglow, their moves a dance of equals, her glaive meeting his staff in harmony, her curves pressing against him in fleeting touches that promised more. A statue of the couple rose in the forum, symbolizing the fusion of might and mind, obsidian and light entwined. Marcus's influence nullified, his supporters scattered to Void's edge. Celine pulled Adrian close, her lips brushing his in a kiss charged with triumph's fire, her voice a whisper, "We are bound, my equal." The binary suns crested, casting a unified shadow, the climax storm breaking into dawn's fragile peace. But in the shadows a whisper lingered, a seed of future tempests. The bridge of the Valiant gleamed, a warship forged from Drakorian alloys, its obsidian hull absorbing the anomaly's chaotic starlight. The air hummed with the soft glow of human-designed consoles, their blue interfaces shimmering like Earth's seas against the stark black of Drakorian command thrones. Celine sat in hers, carved from volcanic stone, her black-silver uniform accentuating her warrior's physique, violet-sheened hair cascading like a nebula, icy blue eyes softened by 5 years of shared dawns. Beside her, in a co-commander's chair of equal stature, Adrian cradled their daughter Amelia, her small frame nestled against him. Her curly black hair framed silver eyes, her mother's violet sheen blended with his human depth, fixed on the view screen's swirling vortex, where stars bled into watercolor chaos. The bridge crew moved with Drakorian precision, their tall figures in sleek uniforms executing commands with martial rhythm. Yet their eyes betrayed unease, the anomaly's tides defying their combat training. Adrian felt a quiet tremor in his chest. Not fear, but the weight of their journey, from the crucible of the Blackstone Palace to this vessel of synthesis. Celine's hand rested near his, her fingers brushing his wrist, a warm touch against her gauntlet's cool metal, grounding him in a moment fragile as the garden they'd rebuilt. Amelia's small hand clutched his finger, her gaze curious, not fearful, a mirror of their shared resilience. "All systems ready, my queen," said Commander Vera, a sharp-eyed Drakorian whose respect for Adrian had grown into loyalty. Her voice cut through the bridge's hum, steady but taut. "The nav core plots the vector into the anomaly. Mission: deploy resonance probes, gather data, return." Celine nodded, her posture regal yet relaxed, a queen unbound by tradition's chains. "This is discovery, not conquest," she said, her voice calm, resonant with a warmth once rare. "We learn, not fight. Understood?" "Yes, my queen," the crew chorused, a sound Adrian once couldn't fathom, a Drakorian fleet embracing exploration over dominance. Amelia shifted in his lap, her silver eyes bright with wonder. He smiled, brushing a curl from her face, his heart swelling with a love that anchored him more than any throne. Celine caught his gaze, a flicker of pride softening her warrior's edge, a silent nod to the family they'd forged from Marcus's ashes. The Valiant surged forward, shields flaring as the anomaly's tides battered the hull, colors on the view screen warping like spilled ink. The navigational vector flickered, fracturing into jagged paths of gravitational chaos. "Commander," the helmsman grunted, hands dancing over controls, "the tides are wild beyond projections. The nav core struggles." Alarms chimed, low and insistent, pricking Adrian's calm. Celine's hand tensed, her instinct to activate weapons surfacing, but she stayed it, trusting the human finesse woven into their systems. The tactical officer barked, "Reinforce dampeners! Push through!" His voice echoed old Drakorian ways, brute force against cosmic turmoil. Lena, the human engineer, countered sharply, "That'll tear the drive apart. We need a stable path." The helmsman's brow furrowed, his console flashing red. "No stable path exists. It's a storm." The bridge's air grew heavy, the crew's eyes darting between Celine and Adrian, their faith tested by the anomaly's wrath. Adrian's gaze lingered on the view screen, his historian's mind tracing patterns, like glyphs in the sanctum garden. Amelia pointed, her voice a soft chime. "It's singing, Papa." Her silver eyes caught a rhythm, a cosmic pulse beneath the chaos. Adrian's heart leapt, not with panic but with recognition. "It's not random," he said, his voice a quiet anchor cutting through the alarms. "The wells resonate, collapsing in sequence, opening a channel before the storm reasserts. It's a dance." Celine turned to him, her eyes a thawing glacier, trust blooming like the garden's hybrid rose. "Show us," she said, her voice steady, a queen leaning on her consort's wisdom. Adrian pointed to the screen, tracing a null space, a fleeting moment of equilibrium. "The core seeks dominance, like a Drakorian. It misses the quiet path. Time the jump to that stillness." His words carried the weight of their journey, gardens coaxed from stone, truths unearthed from lies, a love forged in defiance. "Disengage predictive models," Celine ordered, her voice ringing with renewed fire, locking eyes with Adrian. "Plot a manual jump for the null space. Lena, ready the drive." The crew hesitated, then moved, the helmsman's fingers weaving across controls with precision. Amelia clutched Adrian's hand, her silver eyes bright, unafraid, a mirror of her parents' courage. The ship bucked, a wave of force rocking the bridge, consoles sparking. 3, 2, 1, Celine counted, her hand finding Adrian's, their fingers entwining like the blood vine and rose in their garden. Mark, she said, and the Valiant fell silent, adrift in a pocket of cosmic peace. The alarm ceased, the view screen's chaos replaced by hyperspace's streaking lines as the hyperdrive exhaled them through the null space. A collective sigh swept the bridge, Vera's sharp eyes meeting Adrian's with awe. Celine's grip tightened, her smile small but radiant, a queen proud of her equal. "A quiet path, human," she murmured, her voice warm, intimate, a melody for him alone. Adrian looked from her to Amelia, their daughter's curious gaze embodying their shared future. The sanctum garden bloomed with hybrid flora, a testament to their reign. The Valiant sped onward, its fleet following through the anomaly, human ingenuity guiding Drakorian might. Adrian's heart swelled, not with adrenaline, but with peace, a quiet victory of love and trust. Celine leaned closer, her lips brushing his ear. "We've built more than an empire," she whispered. "We've built us." In the endless dark, their family shone, a beacon weaving two worlds into one.